What's going on? What's going on? Let me just turn the sound down. Okay. Nice. We're back. We're back with a little bit of an echo. So I moved earlier this week, and my office now is empty. So we'll have to fix the sound eventually. Give me one sec. One sec. Okay, can you guys hear me clearly? Let me just move the chat over. Okay, we have a few people in here. Just a handful of people. That's what happens when you're away for almost a week. So just give me a sound check. Mike, sound is good. Awesome. Okay. I could already tell this is going to bother me. I'm going to have to buy those. Well, I have a few things coming that should dampen the sound. I have a big, I have a painting that's going to cover pretty much that entire wall. So that should help. And then I have a couple other things that are on their way. Some other furniture, like a lounge chair and so forth. So right now the office is kind of empty. It's pretty big. So right now I have the widest setting for the camera, but there's a lot of space in here and there's not really much to dampen the sound right now. So if there is an echo, if it sounds kind of, I don't know, echo's not bad. So not sure if someone else said that too, but okay. Yeah, what's going on, guys? So just gonna leave this open for a sec, say hi to everybody. I haven't gone live in a really long time, so if you're new, what's going on? My name is Ryan, also known as Cantor and Clark. I am one of the co-founders of BlockRoots with my partner, Josh Rager. Just right off the get-go, before I forget, because I'm out of it and I'm rusty, I'm out of my tempo in terms of streaming. None of this is financial advice, right? This is strictly for entertainment purposes only. We're gonna go over, how I trade. Who knows how much we're honestly going to go over in the stream, because again, I've been more or less out of the market aside from longing BTC once we reclaimed 40K. So I talked about that about a week and a half ago, I guess now, reclaim of 40K. After we lost it the first time, wondering whether or not we were going to get moved back down to 35, 36. But if we reclaimed 40K, it was just, pulling out the ammunition again. But none of this is financial advice. And we also want to thank our partners over at Phemex. So Phemex Exchange, Josh and I have been partners with them now for going on 2 years. So they don't have any KYC right now. They offer contracts, they offer spot, and they also offer a pretty generous yield on your USDT if you're parked in USDT. All right, so that being said, let me just say hi to a few people. Okay, what's going on? Jovin, Trader Buzz, Jordan, what's up? Paulo. Should we be buying alts, subtitles in other countries? I'm not really familiar with how to go about setting up the subtitles in the best manner. Maybe you could give some insight into that. Saman, what's up, buddy? LP, what's up? Cornholio, Mike, Immortality. All right, sound. Ross, what's up? Kara, Peter, Parth, Hajan, Sam. All right. Yeah, it's nice to be back. So I haven't been trading really at all the last, I guess, 4 days now. The only trade I took was a long on the break of 40K. So I haven't been trading like intraday or anything like that. It's impossible to do that from a phone. Some people might trade frequently from their phone. I definitely don't advise it. So we moved into this new house. We have now we have a lakefront property, which is really nice. So been trying to take that in as much as possible. Some insane sunsets. I shared one of them on Twitter. But part of moving into a new home, right, is there's no internet, so we had to have that set up. So that was finally set up today, and I am wired in right now. I have about a 800 megabytes per second, 1 gigabyte per second speed, and it is absolutely awesome. So we're finally up and running, and we are going to hopefully get back into the swing of things. I'm saying we, I mean me personally. When you step out of the market for even a couple days, right? You just don't have a feel for the overall tempo or cadence or rhythm, or I've described it in many ways before, especially if you're trading low time frames. High time frames, they are not going to be, they're not going to be changing obviously intraday, right? Your high time frame levels are where they are. You're either treating them like support, treating them like resistance, and that's that. There's not, you have to be plugged in obviously still, but my point is the trading that I'm traditionally doing, or that I'm typically doing, is it's very active, and it requires you to have a really strong feel for the market. And if you're just looking at it from your phone, you have no idea what's going on. At least I don't. So I at least can't pick up on the majority of the things that I'm trying to pick up on. I'm assuming this entire stream is legit financial advice. Yeah, I don't think so. But okay, how much you paid for the house? That is my business and no one else's. It's been a really good market, so put it that way. And we're right on the water, so pretty penny, but definitely worth it. Okay. Yeah, definitely losing touch, but it's like stepping away from the piano or stepping away from anything. I played lacrosse my entire life, and I was just thinking about it the other day because I saw someone with a lacrosse net set up as I was driving through a neighborhood. They had it set up on their front lawn, and I was thinking, like, if someone was to hand me a stick right now, would I be able to rip like a corner pocket? So I don't think I would. It would take me a few attempts to really get a feel for playing it, even though I played for my entire life. And I feel like you could lose a lot if you're an intraday trader by just stepping out for a week. So anyway, now that is said, let's take a look at we're going to take a look at BTC. And again, if you're interested in any of the stuff that we share, so whether it's Phemex, any of the web pages that I go to, I will go ahead and help you navigate to those. So we have Phemex.trade, and then I'm going to be looking at Masari. We don't work with Masari at all, but I just have it up right now as a scanner. I'll switch the screen in a sec so you see what I'm talking about. Bybit, so BYBT, so I don't know how, I guess you would say Bybit, even though it's not the exchange. I'm just mentioning these right now because a lot of the times during the streams, I'll share like a platform and take for granted that maybe you guys aren't familiar with what it is. So if you do ever see something that I'm, using, covering, etc., just feel free to send me a DM on Twitter. I'm back in action now, so I'm sure I have a plethora of DMs to go through. All right, so let's switch it up. Okay, we're gonna leave. Go ahead and pop me on here. One sec. Where is this video capture? That is way too big. There we go. Cool. All right. I don't want to block the, there we go. All right, hold on. Cool. All right, so let's take a look at BTC. Do you think some of the, let me just move the chat. Chat is out of your window. Should be good. Oh, you got, all right, so sorry, see? I'm rusty, I'm looking at the wrong screen. There we go. I don't know. So just real quick, there's a lot of obviously there's a lot of talk about the infrastructure bill. Obviously, it's horrible for DeFi. It's horrible for anyone who lives in the United States. So we know the deal, though. What will end up happening, I think, is people will just be forced to curtail or get around these restrictions that are in place, and it'll force more people off off of the United States soil or off of the exchanges that are offered there. It'll force more of them onto the exchanges that exist right now that are not KYC and that are not heavily regulated and that are outside of Matrix Newbie says nice apartment. Matrix Newbie has been in my DM saying congratulations on your apartment. It's not an apartment, Matrix Newbie, it's a house. Let's see. The regulation, it doesn't really affect my trading personally, but for all of the, let's just say, all of the new tech that could really serve the current financial system well, it's a shame that it is being, there's an attempt right now to essentially assassinate it, right? That's because obviously it poses a pretty significant threat to the current powers that be, right? The current intermediaries, the current the banking sector, the current financial infrastructure, which is pretty well established, has obviously a lot more friends in the political space than DeFi because DeFi is so new, and that's why a lot of us now who have done well in this market need to sack up and get more politically active. That's what traditional market participants have been doing forever. That's what incumbents have been doing. I don't want to say that to the extent of buying politicians, but I think where I'm getting at. It's time that crypto doesn't just keep this sort of cypherpunk mentality of screw the establishment, we'll do without them. Well, you actually won't, right? You either have to have more votes or more guns. And, that's not to incite anything, but my point is that the government is in place, and it would be very difficult to sway what they currently. It would be very difficult. How do I put this? There's a quote about changing someone's opinion and their paycheck. I can't think of what the actual quote is, but they're getting paid well right now to make sure that the current system stays the way it is. Put it that way. So anyway, I don't want to talk too much about that. I think one of the more important things to do, and not that this is for everybody. Maybe some people would be better off getting into more of the details with how the story develops. How the law actually gets written in, if it does get written into law. This obviously would take a much longer period of time. But I think the most important thing to do is to look at how the market is responding. That's what I do, right? So I'm looking at BTC, and BTC, up into, I'm so out of it because moving, the range highs, range lows, 40K level has been my line in the sand for a really long time, right? Regardless of how we came back to it, right? How we reclaimed it. After this break above and then break down, right? We were looking for maybe, like I said, 35, 36. We didn't quite make it there, but any reclaim above 40 is bullish, okay? Essentially, price is being reaccepted above a level that has rejected it multiple times now. It just looks more obviously like it is it is range extension, or rather it's extension through the range, and we're looking at what looks like final resolution to this structure. And this typically would have some follow through. You would expect that you would probably return to the next significant area of market structure, which would bring you more than likely, I would say, 47 and upwards. First level of market structure, I think that you have to focus on is probably 40, 44, 45, right? Big round number like that. You have the 20 period moving average on the weekly right there. So again, a very significant line in the sand. But in general, right, the breakout of this structure after support is found above this level on the high time frame, you're looking at a pretty significant extension to the next sticky area on the chart. Okay, so really just the range lows of this prior high range. So at this point, this is I'm long and strong, right? It's bullish from a technical standpoint, and I think that it gets a little bit more credit for being bullish because of cycling back to this infrastructure bill, because of all the negativity that supposedly comes from this, and price is yet to, or rather is not, responding currently to what is perceived as negative news. Okay, so this is very important. How price responds to news. Okay, when we see that price is no longer responding to positive news, that's a sign worth paying attention to. When we see that price is no longer going down or declining in the face of negative news, that again is a sign worth paying attention to. Those are typically what you'll see at major turning points. So at the highs we had development after development, fund, large person interested, celebrity, blah blah blah, all the reasons that price should go up, yet price is no longer going up. And now we have many reasons. We had many reasons going into 30K. Again, price reclaimed. We talked about the levels that we wanted to see reclaimed. Now price is on the top side of the range, and you have what should be massive FUD, and price is showing a tremendous amount of strength. So that's really the thing that I like to lean on, and that that and structure right now keep me pretty comfortable in this long, and more comfortable than just structural alone. Okay, so 40K, right? I think this swing low obviously is a pretty good area for, it's my area for an invalidation right now for what is probably going to be, again, a move that is going to be up to anywhere upwards of 44, 45 initially. And then I think that we probably have higher to go after this. I don't foresee that we get something that fails here and then continues down. But you never know, right? Ultimately, what we want to see is that the high of this range continues to act as support. Now, what I wouldn't be surprised if it were the case would be if this poke up right now, rejected, right, somewhere local, and then chopped around more. We're going into the weekend now. We had significant moves off of the low. We had significant spot buying, and then it kind of tapers off towards the evening, at least my time, New York time. It tapers off as the session begins to end. And now going into the weekend, it's thinner activity. It's less activity overall. And I think you could expect more choppiness because, up to this point, you've had high conviction moves, high conviction directional moves. And I would assume over the weekend we would chop around a little bit. I don't think that, just to make it clear, I don't think that this sort of area retest, which is kind of what it was, right? We talk about a zone. I don't think that this area retest just goes vertical from here. Could be wrong, but it's not what I anticipate, at least over the weekend. So we have that 20-period dynamic, resistance above us, 20-period weekly moving average. We have structure above us, right? Again, from 45 and up. You could go anywhere from 45 all the way up to 50, and you could see that this would be a pretty meaty area. And again, I don't want to say, oh, it's 45 or, oh, it's only 50. You incite a lot of confidence when you say it's only 50. You incite maybe a little bit of premature bearishness if you say it's only 45. It's a zone, right? It was the range lows for, going from February all the way till, the nuke in May. So that could be, kind of a marshy area, right? This is all kind of free, sort of open stream, and this is where it begins to get thick again. That's a high time frame with BTC. If we were to let's say we were to break back within this range, for trading back below 40K, right? So for example, if we are, hold on one sec, here's 40K right here, one sec. So that's your 40K. So if we're trading under 40K and we're back within the structure and we have some sort of double top up here for this local trending move, then I would expect that you could look for these lows to get hunted. That's if we're below 40K, right? Anything above 40K, again, chop around. Wouldn't expect this to just be a one-way trip to the upside, but you never know, right? Let me just see the chat. As far as MAs go, Jamie, just to retouch on that, I think that there's a lot of people so this is the best way I could put it, and I saw someone else say this too. On Twitter and in CT, it's like there's this thirst for a narrative and the extreme of every possible outcome. So there's a lot of like misanthropist, sort of doomsday type of people in CT that always assume the worst. So, you have some lawyers that are making it out to be a huge case, but then there's a lot of people that say, hey, this is to be expected. It's not going to be the worst thing. We're not going to see the market really take a big hit from it. So I tend to believe that it's somewhere in the middle, right? It's kind of shitty, but again, there's, one, if it gets passed and it's unfavorable, it's not like this can't be fought. It wouldn't go into effect until 2023. So I think it's actually, I'm leaning towards, and again, I didn't touch on the points I just made about it being, obviously it's way out into the future still, not way out, but it's not something right in front of us. It still can be fought. And then most importantly, it's like price is not really responding negatively. So I think that's the best sort of leading indicator of how important it is, right? If it was very important to big players, we'd probably see a bigger exodus right now. And then getting to the next question, as far as MAs, I don't really focus too much on MAs. I'm more of an intraday trader. I'm more of a profile order flow trader on the lower time frames, but I've always kept up MAs on the higher time frame charts. And for me, it's always been a 20 period MA. So whether that's on a 4-hour chart, a daily chart, a weekly chart, I think a weekly chart is probably one of the most significant. It's a line in the sand for bulls and bears, right? It's sort of like if you look at a VWAP and we're saying, bulls are in control or bears are in control relative to our position to it. Same thing for me applies to the 20 period. And as you can see, I have the weekly right now. 20 period is your center Bollinger Band line, right? So in a strong bull market, you'll see that we're going to respect it on the daily and the weekly. And, it just signifies that there's been a big change if we start losing it and trading below it and treating it as resistance. So it is just, it's an area that's right in front of us right now. It's dynamic, so it's going to be moving over time. But it would be an area where you'd expect if you were turning back to it, we would find some resistance. I don't want to say, though, like it has to mean we have to tap right here because this is just an average over time that's incorporating this price action. So it is very well, possible that price chops around here, the 20 period moves, in accordance with that. Then it looks like it's acting as resistance. It looks more meaningful than it actually is. But ultimately, we end up trading back above, and it just shows how strong the market is at that point. So moving averages are useful. I don't really lean on them too much, though. Basic strategies, as Spaceman said, what's up, buddy, is a slow moving average and a faster moving average crossover. Just to show you how the trend is changing with respect to the longer term trend, right? So that is something that can be useful. It just takes out the sort of subjectivity of price action. Makes it a little bit more obvious. Do you actively trade lots of assets? Do you see it? No, I don't really trade as many assets as I used to. So I started trading equities, trading equity derivatives, and then moved to trading crude oil, and then started trading crypto. And it wasn't like I did all of those separate, and stopped immediately after trading equities and then trading crude oil. That's kind of how I transitioned. And now I am, pretty much just a passive investor in traditional markets. I really don't trade crude oil anymore. I don't remember the last time I put on a crude trade, but I primarily just focus on trading BTC and then have high beta exposure with alts. But my bread and butter trading is trading BTC intraday. So it's actually trading BTC and not even really focusing on this chart. But I obviously throw this chart up during the streams because I have a lot of people that are following for the first time. All right, so BTC, as long as it holds above 40, to me looks bullish, right? We've been within this range for, again, going on since May. And this looks like finally we have acceptance above the structure. Again, I would just assume they would probably chop around before resolving, maybe next week. That's just because my expectation on the weekend is that it is going to be a choppy environment. ETH, sitting right at what would be, in my opinion, probably the most significant level on the chart. 3K, major psychological number, major, sort of very obvious round number. A lot of people are going to be acting on behalf of that sort of high participation zone, as I've said before, key inflection point, whatever you want to call it. Happens to be part of this little threshold before we re-accept into a gap. So this is the beginning of that liquidation cascade. It's not like there was any real or a substantial amount of two-way trade there. This is a daily candle though, so obviously it could be broken down a lot more as we look on the low time frames. But the idea is it was a pretty rapid move there on the way down. It should be a fairly rapid move in the opposite direction if we re-accept above there. So I think 3,000 is, again, a very significant level. You'll see a lot of activity come in if we're able to close above 3K. And then there's not like, again, as I said, that we have any real significant structure above there. Obviously, one thing I'd be mindful of is the fake out, right? Significant move through 3K, high volume, price immediately, beginning to, rather not beginning, failure to hold that level. I would just be weary of this because with ETH, we do have what looks like a relatively weak structure on the way up. It's not like there's a tremendous amount of support. It's not like we've really built a base. You sort of have this big move up, rotation down, slightly smaller move up, longer rotation down, and now again this last spike without much space in between. So a lot of times you have these kind of structures that kind of crescendo on their way up, and all these lows interrupted. It's a horrible drawing, but it looks like this, obviously. That's a horrible drawing too. I think you get the point though. It's best actually just going off of the actual candles right here. These uninterrupted lows are kind of an easy area to trail a stop, right? Sort of a lazy man stop below this structure. And because of that, if you start re-accepting lower, right? Let's say we have a significant move above 3K, have some type of blow off, and then we're, trading back below. If we have some type of underside retest showing failure, right? Sellers start to come in. You could see a pretty rapid move if we start to re-accept below, 28, 27, and so forth. Just because, again, there's really been no take of any of these lows, right? So we haven't had a grab of that. We haven't really established any kind of sideways structure. ETH has been moving straight up, right? Makes sense because that protocol, the EIP, whatever the numbers are, went into effect. So there's been a lot of, there was a big assumption that a lot of that was priced in. And, as I said many times, yes, a lot of it was probably priced in, but, it represents a change to the overall supply. So, that has a material impact on one of the core features that will define an asset's reflexivity. So you have a bunch of people that are going to be hopping on behalf of just that alone. Let's see, one sec. If I'm trading BTC intraday, I'm a lot of the times going to be looking at a tick-based chart. So I'll show you guys in a sec. Just to look at BTC again really quickly. So above 40K, one thing to focus on is that we don't have a significant change in funding, right? It's not like it's blown out yet. We have been positive. Aggregate obviously is shown right here, but across exchanges, it's nothing that's really that extreme. We're trading more towards the neutral side of things. So Bybit, BitMEX around 1 basis point. So that's good. It's not like we're seeing it too elevated. In a move up, it's going to be elevated, right? There's no way around that. We saw that in the earlier portion of this cycle. If this is going to be if this bearish portion of this cycle is over, right? So this little bear market period we went through, if that's over, I would expect funding to remain elevated for the duration of the move upward. From this period, I don't expect that when the market reclaims the top side of a range, right, after a bear period, right, in a larger secular bull trend, I don't think that people are going to be as, I think that people, are going to be jumping back on the gun in terms of getting leverage exposure. And that's just the cost of getting that leverage exposure. And yes, I do think that this bearish period is coming to an end. I said end of Q3, Q4, look for positive price action, right? Some good market movement. Got a lot of hate because it's saying bear market. For a lot of new traders and people who are passionate about BTC and are just kind of like buying into the romance of the narrative, they don't want to think about it being in a bearish period or bear market. But they also have no idea what a bear market is, right? So, getting in arguments with traders on Twitter and they're saying like, oh, you called it bear market. Well, bear market it's not objectively defined whatsoever. It's a period of, across multiple time frames, negative price action, right? Range bound prices, no positive appreciation, drops in volumes, drops in interest, loss of major levels. All of those things were satisfied in this move down. So absolutely, and a bear market is a smaller period. The mistake, a bear market is always going to be shorter than the bull market. So the mistake is assuming that this is a secular bearish trend, so a larger bear market. We haven't had that. We don't have that right now. All right, we had a an intercycle bear market, if that's even a proper term, intercycle. I think I just created that one. So let's go to low time frames in a second. There's a couple things I wanted to cover. Alts, going on. I can't remember where we left off because again, this first live stream is going to be a little rusty. We talked about major alts reclaiming levels. That's always a significant sign to pay attention to. So we were talking about Link before we left off, the last streams, right? So Link reclaiming previous area of market structure. So we're just looking at how these consolidations are traded back above and treated like support. Everything right now, if BTC is going to be continuing upward, right? If BTC is going to be making a move higher, follow the strength, right? So follow the strong DeFi pairs. What's going on with this? Why is this blue? So Sol, FTT, all of these treating previous resistances, previous pivot points now as support. So it's kind of just bullish across the board. I'm looking into some smaller DeFi plays. So you can see that I have, with the NFT craze, I bought Rarible, right? So OpenSea, Rarible. OpenSea is obviously, I don't know enough about him to even talk about him, honestly. But OpenSea is where I was trading and buying some of the NFTs that I was getting involved in. So you guys know I shared the dog NFT of them playing with crypto at a table, right? So that I think I bought at maybe less than an ETH or 1 ETH. Honestly, I have no idea. It might be 1.2 ETH. And then it ended up getting up to 7 ETH, right? And then I sold it for below that. Someone made an offer, and I think I sold out for like 5 ETH. So I got to double check. I mean, it's all transparent. It's on, it's right on OpenSea. I think it was picture 19. But a couple other NFT plays that are kind of just plays on the overall NFT beta. I'm trying to find them, obviously, because I don't think that this is going to just die out immediately. It is looking frothy, but when I saw the Rarible chart, it looks to me like it's building a base, right? I'm not the only one who thinks that right now, right? I'm not, pulling this out of my ass. This actually looks pretty good, right? You have just in terms of what has been the higher time frame structure so far, higher high, higher low. This looks like a low forming, right? This is the weekly structure, treating the previous weekly high as support. And I could see, honestly, this revisiting the highs. And it's at 1382 right now. So the highs are up at, around 45. So I'm trying to find a lot of plays that are connected to the NFT space because I do think it's frothy, but I don't think that it's definitely boiled over completely. So I just wanted to share this chart with you guys. Just look at. So, and then I'm, in Mist as well. So Mist is, some of these are smaller caps. So it's not something I like to share too much, but I've been pretty open with them. Again, NFT coin trading at 20 cents right now, but just looking at the high time frame chart. See, some of them have such ugly previous price action that you have to scale it manually to even get a good idea of what it looks like on a log chart. So this to me, this one big long small, it's not that long. I mean, it goes back to May, but it looks like you have this accumulation period, right? It's a low float, right? Low volume, low market cap pair. And these are the kind of things that people are going to be looking for when the market is pumping, right? Things that they think can pump a lot more. So this to me looks good. It looks like it's probably going to break out of this previous all-time high. As long as, obviously, the space continues to garner interest. And it's not, again, it hasn't boiled over yet. BTC trading at 33,266. This is good. So I would expect that 44, 45 would probably offer some resistance. As far as intraday trading goes, you're not looking at, or rather I'm not looking at the daily chart really ever, because a lot of the times I know where my daily levels are, and that's that, right? Daily levels, key inflection points, major areas of participation, you know, I've called them by many different names. But if I'm trading intraday, I'm really just focused on where we sit within the more local rotations. So if we just go to XO really quickly. So obviously where we sit with respect to higher time frame levels, right, sort of key inflection points, as I've said before, high participation zones. Let's think of all the other things we could call it. Inflection points, major contextual levels, whatever you want to say. But if I'm trading intraday, my only focus is going to be on a lot of what has occurred more locally, right? Because very often we're going to be dealing with local intraday levels and not really going to be coming in contact with major higher time frame levels as frequently as these intraday levels. So I'm more focused on what has occurred recently. And I'm just answering, one of you asked this question. So when trading BTC intraday, what time frame do you focus on? So I'm gathering from the daily chart, right? So we're looking at a profile chart right now. And you can see the last 2 days, right? The last balance day that we had, we're talking all the way back to, you know, August 1st, August 2nd. And from there, it's just been extension, right? We've had a significant trending structure. You know, this is essentially a double distribution, but it has been not just, well, double distribution from short covering, so that counts as a liquidation structure, because a double distribution to the downside, you typically refer to it as a long liquidation structure. Old school market profile traders will call it that. But this is a trending day, right? So the market is in the last 2 days, in a strong trending, the behavior is a strong trending behavior. So ideally what I want to see is, you know, I don't want to be buying the tops of these trending moves. So the areas that I want to focus on are where I would expect an exchange of positions, right? So if the market was going to come back down right now, you know, 42 is an area where we do have a gap within yesterday's structure. So that's a single print gap. And, you know, that is kind of the lows of one of the more local balanced areas before we close this day out. So if we look at, you know, what we're looking at right now is a 15-minute chart. Let's go to a 3-minute chart. You know, what might be an interesting area to get involved on the intraday, or rather on the low time frames. You know, potentially this 42.1, sort of 42 level where we have this gap, right? Where we have these lows that are uninterrupted, okay? Because what you have right here is a range, right? And the low of this range, right? The initial low of this range hasn't really been taken yet. This is kind of just crab behavior, right? So a move down through this low, right? You could expect that we might pass into this gap around 42 and then see a significant spring up, and might even see continuation from there, right? Because if we're trending, a lot of the times what you'll have is you know, a trending move that'll return back to the gap, right? In this case, we created a nice balance, broke up, created a nice balance again, and a lot of times we will just pass into the gap, grab liquidity, and then continue from there. So ideally, bulls want to see that we're able to maintain value higher, right? That we don't start trading, you know, below previous day's value. Yesterday's value area is obviously there's a fair amount of dispersion because it was a double distribution. You know, ideally what we would want to see is that we don't trade, you know, again, it goes back to the low 40s, 40K region. You don't want to see that you start trading below yesterday's low, right? Bulls wouldn't want to see that, because that is, you're starting to reclaim previous day lows. You know, we're starting to fall back below key contextual levels. But this right now is a really strong trending move. I mean, I haven't, honestly guys, this is my first couple hours back even looking at the chart. I haven't looked at anything yet. I haven't looked at CUD. I've just looked at funding. So if we look at, just drag something over here. That's the wrong chart, that's session chart. So this is a TPO broken up by sessions. But we'll just look at, for example, Bybit and BitMEX. And just reset these. So, I mean, there's been a ton of strong buying. It's not like we're seeing that the buying that's coming into the market is not lifting prices. So, if anything, on BitMEX, you could see that there's less buying this go around at these highs, right? So this, we might, this is one exchange, right? So currently right now, if we just look at the spot market with relation to the derivative markets, we're seeing they're kind of in line, right? Coinbase is trading above pretty much everybody, trading in line with FTX. But the point is on Bybit, it's not like buyers are really getting ahead of themselves, right? Instead, we've just had steady buying, and higher prices are supporting that activity. On BitMEX, a little bit of a drop off in Delta. So we see that CBD is slightly lower on the side. It's not that significant because, it would be pretty stupid right now to just assume that this is at any point, based on the way it currently is trading, something you just want to tag on a short onto. I have to get my bearings back because right now my charts are all naked. If you guys want to just ask questions too, that'd be good. Let me just pull the chat up. So ideally for any kind of lower time frame trades right now, across the high time frame, you want to see that we're holding 40,500 area. It's very obvious. Daily support level, weekly level. When I say weekly, I just mean, we have this whole zone, right? That's right around 39. You definitely would want to hold 40, I would say. It's actually just a weekly high, which is that daily level, right? But I think you could see that this is just this little cluster of highs right here, extending this moving forward. Right, we had a pretty decent pullback into that, right? We violated it decently, but now again, holding that as support, so it looks good. We just want to see that level hold. What's been on the move today in DeFi? Badger, Alchemix, Curve. Trading the news is, trading what kind of news? Like non-farm payroll, or just trading a breaking news event, like an FOMC meeting. Now I try to go into things like that flat. Why are you still not on Twitch, boy? I'm not a boy. Don't call me boy. I wouldn't say that I trade the news. It depends. Obviously, it all depends. Yeah, I think that, so again, a lot of these alt charts right now, reclaiming previous weekly levels, reclaiming previous daily levels, looking like they are obviously painting very clear reversals. And then if anything, it doesn't mean they have to reverse, but it just gives you a very good area to define risk, right? So previous range highs, now trading back above, you would expect that this gap would likely be covered, targeting these previous highs. So if we're trading back below the structure, something is wrong with that, right? So for example, with sushi, trading back below $9, right? Trading back below this, I think these are weekly levels on the chart. What do I have these? Where are these old lines from? Now we're looking at, let me just make this naked real quick. So you can see this little gray box right here. There's a ton of interaction right there, right? So I would say you trading back below 9, things have obviously changed from good to worse. The point being is just, if you have a reversal in place, right, and this is your range you're developing as the bottom, you want to see that this flip acts as support. And it just gives you a good area to define risk. You could put on a wide stop now if you're position sizing appropriately and target these highs. Not you, but I'm just saying in general. I mean, and you have, you know, favorable trade from a risk to reward standpoint, but it's a pretty wide stop, right? Very wide stop. You wouldn't do that, but the point is the trade is there if you size it appropriately. That's not a trade I would really consider taking. I would just scale in the spot, honestly, and probably wouldn't even put a stop. It's rude, okay. Yeah, no, I get it. It's a colloquialism. Yeah, it's a term of endearment. But I've never had someone call me boy. And I hate the word bro. So, yeah. I get what you're saying, K. I'm just fucking with you. Ghost is another one. So I've been long Ghost. So I'm long Ghost. Just a few other ones really quickly. Still long perp. So this is one that I'm going to be looking to add to on dips. Still long perp. I mean, this is a pretty extended move above these range highs. I mean, it's not necessarily above the range highs if you look at this high right here, but where bulk of the activity came in, you're looking much lower, right? Even though you had this sort of retest right here, I just wouldn't be surprised if, you know, price came down a little bit more and developed a little bit more structure because it's been a pretty bullish move off of these lows. But if it's showing strength, it might just be that it's that strong, right? Well, thanks, Kay. Just have you know that I'm married. So what else, guys? I'm so out of the loop with what's going on in the market. I haven't sat down, placed a trade yet. Haven't sat down, looked at the footprint, looked at really the this is the first time I'm really looking at profile again. So there's been so much stuff to do. The house is all new, right? But just a lot of stuff to do. Let me just look through the So the mic was muted that entire time? Oh my God. That sucks. Oh man. Damn. You know what sucks about that? The chat wasn't scrolled all the way down. So I was reading the questions thinking, oh my God. This is good. So, guys, hey, I'm back. That's what happens. Okay. Yeah. I haven't done that in a while, guys. All right, so real quick. Now we're going to give a really expedited answer what I just said. Wow. Thanks for hanging in, guys. It's awesome. Let's see. No, I'm going to get back to it. Trust me. Okay, here we go. We're back. As far as time management, building a routine. So I do think it's really important to be regimented. So to try to create as much structure in your life as possible when you're starting trading. But what I was saying was, I think that one thing that I realize is, I go through periods where I'm very structured. Wake up same time every morning. Go to the computer the same way every morning. I don't mean just the way you go to it, but log on to my platforms, look at the higher time frame charts, see if there's anything brewing with news. That's kind of just standard. See if I missed anything obvious, if there's any kind of major development, any kind of narrative at play. But I think you absolutely want to try to be as structured as possible. You want to aim for that. There's plenty of, what I said was there's plenty of self-help books for time management. There's plenty of tips and tricks. One thing that I did share that I think is really beneficial, and this kind of gets into the next question, was a trade journal, sort of like a trade plan for the day. So I shared that on Twitter, and if you're not familiar with what I shared, go ahead and DM me. I'll send you it. It's a PDF that you fill out every morning when you're at the screens. Sort of like what's going on today in the market, how am I feeling, rate your mood from 1 to 10, write all your significant levels down, write things down. Writing things down is a really good way of ingraining things. Better than typing, better than just trying to keep them in memory. So as far as building a routine, keep it simple. All right. I don't spend, and this is where I kind of, this is where I went into a little bit more detail. When it comes to trading alts, that's where I'm swing trading. When it comes to trading BTC, I'm always looking at BTC, right? I'm always aware, not in the last couple of days as much, but I'm always aware of BTC. I'm always aware of where Bitcoin is and what it is doing. With alts, like I don't have time to constantly be going through all different alt charts. Only during a major sort of frothy period where there's a lot of hype in a particular sector and the whole market's moving up, will I really buckle down and try to get some substantial amount of opportunities in the watch list, right? Where I will be cycling through them and trying to build some type of approach around those. And a lot of the times it's going to be higher time frame structure. So one thing I said was, I will create a watch list of alts, and then I'm not really going to be looking at them, because what I do is if they're all, for example, in the same place where, more recently we lost weekly market structure or ranging on the weekly, I don't need to look at them. All I do is set alerts, right? If, for example, let's go to DOT. DOT was one of the pairs that I shared in BlockRoots, and I think on Twitter going back over a week ago with Link. And then there was another one that I got long too, and which one was it? It was DOT, Link, and maybe that was it. But either way, right? So here's Link. Now here's DOT. This is weekly market structure. Higher highs, lower lows, lower highs, right, on the way down. Micro consolidation before this third spike. So we have a 3 drive move down. We have some significant levels of market structure within there. Like, I'm not interested in trying to, be part of the Pico bottom, right? With a chart like this where I could see maybe this is developing. Maybe we have, we're into the second leg right here, or the third leg if you consider this one. But if we're into that, And I think that maybe it's possible we'll set something up where we'll reclaim it, and we're looking at, reclaims across the board. What I'll just do is I'll just go ahead and set alerts that will indicate that we're trading back above a level I should be interested in. And then I won't look at this chart again until that alert is triggered. So for example, if we just were to put that, the significant alert I would have be at that high and then at this low to get me to pay attention, right? So this weekly low, the idea being that you have consolidation, weekly breakdown, consolidation, and now we're beginning to retake levels that we hadn't been able to trade back above, right? Price is beginning to turn in the opposite direction. And then I'm not looking at charts. I'm just setting up a watch list and then setting up alerts. So I'm really not wasting too much time doing that. I would suggest you do that too. Okay. Too funny. Unbelievable. Okay. Just going through. It wasn't much, honestly, guys. I didn't say much. I just said that. Huh. I need a cig anyway. Nice. Hold on. Almost there. Wow. That's crazy. Wow. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Okay. No. Where do I lose my rules? No. No, I don't think. I think that you lose your rules, or you lose your way when you are newer, where you don't have a plan. You don't have like a framework. So, you want to have some type of axiomatic framework. So these axioms that you lean on, cardinal rules, if you will. And the only way that you survive is by sticking to that plan, or your rules, whatever you want to call them. You're only as good as your rules, and I've said that quote many times. You're only as good as your rules, right? Your ability to follow them. Oh man, I didn't switch the chart. This is the worst stream ever. Wow. Guys, I don't even know. I think my face might be turning red. So this is what I was talking about. It wasn't much. I was talking about DOT. This is the best stream I've ever done. I was talking about charts that might be setting up to change, right? You have what looks to be some semblance of higher time frame structure, finding a bottom. Yeah, rusty. Very rusty. Where's the audio real quick? Where's the audio box? Yeah, I have 2 audio captures on right now. There we go. Wow, this fucking, jeez. Who would have known that streaming is like something that you have to be, it's like everything else, right? I mean, I said you come back to the market after not being sort of in touch with it for a couple of days and you sort of lose your feel for it. I'm not a streamer. I'm definitely not a streamer. All right, so we're looking at the chart right now. We have the volume. Yeah, we keep it fun here. Nah, William, this isn't April Fool's. This is how the streams in the beginning used to be, because I would like mess the sound up, forget that when you transition from a scene. So for example, like I'm on, this is what I'm looking at right here, OBS. I'm going through these scenes. And then I have this to make sure, hey, you switch from a scene, got to make sure the audio is set up. And when you're streaming frequently, you don't miss a beat. But if you haven't done it in a while, what happens is what you just saw. So what I was talking about with time management and looking at charts, I really don't focus too much on the charts beyond the point that I just set my alerts. So, for alts, because most of my alt plays are swing trades, I will, for example, maybe see that Bitcoin is beginning to find a floor, or Bitcoin is showing that there's strength, or Bitcoin is showing strength in general, or ETH is, either way, right? So some kind of market leader We typically know that alts will follow. They won't lead, but they will follow. So if we have a structure that's based on the weekly like this, which is what most of my alt plays are going to be based around, right? Weekly structure. Then I know, okay, I'm never going to be interested until we're trading back above a previous weekly pivot point, right? Taking structure that, for example, was resistance on the way down and now trading as support. So that doesn't mean like I need to see that it's, closing above it on the weekly. I just will place alerts at these levels to start looking for that trade to maybe set up, right? And what that means is, I'll have an alert at, let's say for DOT, right? Because I ended up longing DOT when we reclaim this level. I'll have an alert at DOT around, let's say 13, for example, to begin with, right? So these lows, that's 14. So we'll have an alert at DOT. Why does it look like it looked like it was 14? It's 15. So I'm trying to match this line with where it is on the margin. So I'll have an alert at that point, right? And when it's triggering, it doesn't mean I'm getting into a trade. It just means, okay, now it's a chart worth paying attention to. And this is how I approach trading alts. I'll create a watch list based on where capital is going to, right? Sort of skate where the puck is going. And then I will refine what's worth paying attention to strictly when my alerts get hit. I'm not focusing on it on the low time frames. No, this is this was what's it called? Club soda, like with cucumber, rosemary. My wife made a rosemary simple syrup, which is like rosemary infused sugar water, and then a Jarritos soda topped. It's not alcoholic. It's just like some fancy fruity drink. My wife owns a mobile cocktail and catering company, so she has the horse trailer bar that I shared, which is awesome, and she has she makes a bunch of cocktails and makes menus and stuff, and she was going over some last night, and I just had the non-alcoholic version. So yeah, yeah, no, I got to get back into streaming. That's all. Super rusty. Honestly, I don't even feel like I can talk much about the market today because I haven't been paying attention. So we'll go back over ETH. So like I said, ETH 3K level is huge, right? And huge from a participation standpoint, right? Again, as I said earlier, if ETH blasts through 3K, and we see that we have a ton of volume come in, but ETH trades back below this level, is unable to hold 3K as support, maybe we're looking at a bigger pullback at that point because we've had sort of this very one-sided market. I don't think so though. I think that this is, the bottom forming, or has formed at this point. Bear market period is coming to an end. A break above 3K, you're probably looking at a pretty rapid move up. That's just my thought. That's just my 2 cents. We're still kind of within a range, but if you're going to bet on whether this range is a resistance worth selling or buying, I think this, for me, is a resistance worth buying. But 3K is right there. I'm not going to front run that. We'll see how we respond when we break above it. But either way, this doesn't look like, if you look on the weekly chart, it's not looking too bearish anymore. We're back above the 20 period weekly. It's looking bullish now. That's the way it is, right? Jarritos, yeah. Definitely say the J in Jarritos. Yeah, shit. Whoops. Jarritos. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. DOT is, for example, if we just look at DOT based on volume, I mean, it's up there. DOT is number 7. Doing just under $1 billion in volume, $722 million in volume in 24 hours. And DOT structure looks good. A lot of these blue chip DeFi pairs are going to probably be marking up pretty hard soon. This is still kind of the grind, I think. Right now that things are shifting, I think that this is the grind that precedes a very rapid market. And it could mean, for example, we're back at a significant level. If you're looking at DOT right now, here, you're kind of in the previous range that we were within between 26 and 20. So I think you're going back up to these highs. I think that the market would pick up a lot when you're trading back above 26, but this move could happen pretty quickly. If we chop around, if Bitcoin chops around, these probably chop around more, and then it's probably a good opportunity to get involved at this retest. If there's another retest around 18, sort of, what's that, like 18, 16, 18 area, that zone, right? Just this. Whoops, let's use the box. Pocket right there. I mean, Atom looking good too. I mean, all of these are looking good now from a high time frame standpoint. You guys can tell me, right? Probably gonna wrap it up pretty soon. Link. Link just looks like it grinds its way up on the high time frame. It trades differently than I think every other pair. Kind of look like Link looks like the S&P 500, right? Just this kind of very nice, even though it's we've had multiple sell-offs, this strong move up over time. Big sell-offs, but grinding back up, reclaiming levels. It trades differently than I think a lot of other alt pairs. So I mean, you have resistance right above 27 bucks. So you're looking at this little pocket right here. 20 period weekly moving average, weekly highs, closing highs right here. If we look at the daily, this little pivot. So, but I mean, if we return back down to sort of this 1950 level, these have, so far you have a series of lower lows, lower highs. This is the beginning of a higher high. So what we're looking for across the board either way is a higher low to develop. Just a matter of how bullish is this, and is it going to develop much higher, right? You could talk about waiting for a higher low, but that higher low might come up all the way up here. Okay, not to instill FOMO, but I don't think the Senate stuff will lead to a black swan, because I don't think it has yet. So if anyone was worried, they'd probably be getting themselves out now. So we haven't seen much of that, and there's a good amount of large institutional capital in the space, and I don't think that, since Bitcoin, since it's showing strength, I don't think people are really caring that much. So no, I didn't. Have I seen moves as crazy as ACH? Off the top of my head, I could think of some crazy things, but I had no part in that whatsoever, though. I try to stay away from things that become overly popular just overnight. But I'm probably going to wrap it up, guys. I'm shot, and I need to get back into sort of market mode. Like I said, I haven't really spent too much time at the computer myself. I just got the internet set back up today, and I need to set up my, hold on, my whole station again. A lot of charts are looking good, though. FTT looks like it's just going to rip up to the highs. You have reclaim of the weekly 20 period, weekly 20 period, right? Trading back above all of the highs from this range right after this breakdown. It's not like it built any kind of massive structure to run into now. So on the way up, just a series of very strong moves, higher highs, higher lows. You know, we had this is a daily chart, so you did have this kind of more range-bound behavior, right? A lot of overlap here, but not like anything that developed for a long period of time with very significant rejections. So that's one thing. It's not like there's been significant rejections. It's not like BTC had a significant rejection. So that's why I've never said like, oh, the top is in with BTC, right? Like it's the top. I've always just maintained that it was a top until we actually start reclaiming the top side of the range, right? Which I assume would still take a substantial amount of time. But end of Q4, right? I just don't think that it's going to happen before the end of the year. But that was actually my original thinking. But it's starting to look like that's obviously a very strong possibility. But nothing looks like it had any kind of blow off top, right? Besides ETH. But, I mean, look where ETH is now. But FTT, I mean, where else is this going to go right now? Right? We're kind of accepted into a gap again above the range highs of what was, you know, it was a range, but, I mean, this looks like it's going to break up anytime. So... from the Ritz to the rubble. So, all right, guys. I think I'm going to wrap it up, though. I'm rusty. I need to set myself up, take a look at the market, and that'll be it. Thanks for stopping in, though. Sorry for the mistakes with the sound. That was too funny, and the chart. But on behalf of my partner, Josh Rager, and us at BlockRoots, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys have a good weekend. I will go live again. I'll probably go live again tomorrow, honestly. Go live again tomorrow night. Get my bearings again. Take a look at the market so I feel like I have something to talk about. And yeah, that's that. Until next time, guys.